A very good morning to you, dear listener, and welcome to Perspectives, a current affairs discussion program on Agate Radio, 95.5 Star FM, Makudi, Benue State. This morning on the Friday edition of Perspectives, we shall discuss the implication of the U.S. suspension of foreign aid to some countries, including Nigeria. President Donald Trump last week signed some executive orders which led to the suspension of foreign aid, especially in the areas of health interventions for countries. And he has also withdrawn the U.S. from the World Health Organization. This has generated concerns amongst Nigerians. And according to the federal government, as at yesterday, it's reaffirmed its commitment to intensifying domestic resource mobilization to ensure sustainability of the country's HIV response. And of course, the Director General of NAFDAC yesterday stated that the U.S. government, through the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, PEPFAR, has immensely supported Nigeria's HIV and AIDS response over the years, sustaining it in the treatment and management of HIV in Nigeria. According to NAFDAC, PEPFAR Nigeria remains the biggest donor for a treatment program in the country, as their contribution cover approximately 90% of a burden that is catered for. So, what does this portend for the country? Foreign aid suspension, not just in the health sector and other areas. Of course, the Trump government also withdrew from the Paris Agreement on climate change issues across the world. We shall discuss the implications of this. Does this affect globalization? What is the implication on Nigerians? There are concerns that there will be job losses and, of course, other issues as well. This is what we shall try to examine on this edition of the program this morning. I have been joined here in the studio by a seasoned public affairs commentator who has worked with the United Nations High Commissioner on Refugees in our office in Nasarawa State. He has also been a member of the Benue State Executive Council in the past, a former special advisor to the Benue State Governor on NEPAD and international relations. He has had extensive knowledge working with some of these international partners and donor organizations. He is here in the studio to analyze the issues concerning this. Mr. Sam Agwa is our guest on Perspectives this morning. Good to have you join us, Mr. Agwa. Welcome to Perspectives once again.
Thank you so much, Nathaniel. I appreciate it.
We also be joined virtually later in the course of the program by a former special advisor to the Benue State Governor on Diaspora Affairs, who is also a public affairs commentator. Reverend Peter Ichull will join us virtually from Boko. And a public affairs commentator, an analyst, another one, Jide will join us virtually from Abuja to also offer insights on this subject matter we are discussing this morning. I am Nathaniel Nongu, welcoming you to the Friday edition of Perspectives. And if this is your first time tuning into the program, kindly be informed that Perspectives is audience participatory. At 10 o'clock, we allow you to phone in to offer your thoughts on what we are discussing. You can reach us on the number 0814-335-9292. The number for calls, once again, is 0814-335-9292. The SMS line through which you can also contribute to the program is 0912-699-9404. The line is also available on WhatsApp. You may log on to our website on www.iGetRadioTV.com to listen to us and access other content of iGet Radio as well. We are available on Radio Garden and on social media platforms where our content is streaming. And you can also download the iGet Radio and TV app from Google Play Store, which avails you the platforms of the television, online, newspaper, as well as radio. We're available on all these platforms to serve you beyond boundaries. Kindly join us to be a part of what we are discussing. Mr. Agwa, let's begin before the virtual guest will join us later, as I mentioned. But this temporary suspension, or the suspension generally, how did the news of the U.S. government suspending foreign aid come to you?
Well, it's a mix. It came both as a surprise and not. Not a surprise because if you notice, President Trump had, prior to becoming president, there were clear signals that a lot of disruptions are going to take place a lot of rejigging, some landmark policy shifts and that. So one could also imagine that some worse things could happen, even that. So not really surprised. But where the surprise came is the fact that maybe for quite some time, the presence of U.S. Support for Nigeria over the past 2 decades or even more has been so impacting that it got some of us shocked at such a sudden policy statement from Trump. So yes, a mix. And I think significantly, for me, 2 things are key here. Foundationally, President Trump has ended up reading a riot act to all the nations of the world that it's not going to be business as usual. We are not just going to dole out funding if we don't have certain strategic interests embedded that are so serious. The second side to it is Trump is also succeeding in passing a message that if you think America is not important to the world, when I withdraw these things, you will now know that, hey, this America you guys shout about, saying this is that, causing problem here and there, this is the impact I have been making to the rest of the world. So whichever way you look at it, for us in Nigeria, this has very serious implications, particularly the fact that when you were giving introduction, you mentioned something on PEPFAR.
Yes.
That presidential initiative that supports people taking ART drugs and all that. If you notice, early 2000, when that program started in Nigeria, we had only 25 sites. As at some 3-4 years back, there were over 1,000 sites. That means 1,000 locations where people can go access the ARTs and that. But you know, that is just a component of the entire aid envelope. So it's really something that we need to sit back and rethink and rejig. So maybe in the course of the program, we can go much deeper, but it's both a surprise and not a surprise. In fact, I expect Nigerians to take it that there are going to be many surprises from Trump. And we should just brace up and begin to think.
All right. When you mention, anyway, in the course of researching for this program, I came across statistics which said the U.S. contributes 24% of the annual budget of WHO, which means it underwrites a chunk of the annual budget of this critical UN agency and a significant stakeholder in various health and human development programs around the world. Trump has also withdrawn his country, the U.S., from the World Health Organization. What does this portend to other countries in the health sector?
Like I mentioned,
yes,
Trump is sending a message that it's not going to be business as usual all over the world. And I am beginning to imagine, like in the WHO, if you recall, Trump started having problems with them because Trump was one of the guys that never really believed in the COVID stuff. He felt people were cashing in, or rather cashing out, making money, creating some fiction around it, kept this discussion. You know, he's somebody that must talk, must say something. Now, that withdrawal globally, you can begin to imagine that impact, because if you look at from vaccines to even physical infrastructure to capacity building to data management systems, it is this contribution that comes from a chunk that comes from countries like the United States that keeps even the global health moving. And if you remember, if indeed this withdrawal from WHO, which I'm not sure not, there is some, when he withdrew the funding, he later came back to find some middle ground so that things don't choke. People can breathe small. Yes. But the WHO is total pullout, meaning that even interventions all over the world that children are sorted around issues of measles and that will be impacted. So I think it's a big calamity to some way immediately in people trying to cope. If a country like Nigeria, where from records, Nat, we understand some $7.8 billion has even gone into PEPFAR, that component of health of people that responds to people living with HIV alone. And now, at the WHO level, you have also pulled out.
Yes.
I think we are going to have a global health crisis, of which I can't even imagine the proportion it will look like. Because imagine countries in conflicts withdrawing from WHO. Look at what that will mean. WHO will have to scale down its budgets. And look at the implication of you wanted to spend 10 naira here to respond to, say, people that, some 100 people. Now you are going to be responding to maybe 20 people or 30 people, cutting down budgets. So what happens? So in a way, there's lots of injury. But that begins to tell us that nations need to sit up, buckle up, and know that someday the world may come to an end.
Anyway, those are the concerns. But in all of this, the phrase that is often used, that the world is a global village, and of course globalization. When we talk about globalization, do you see, just a moment, we have now been joined virtually by Reverend Peter Ichull, who will join us virtually from Boko. Thank you, Reverend Ichull, for joining us. Welcome to Perspectives. Hello, Reverend Ichull, good morning. Hello.
I'm hearing him faintly.
Okay, yeah. Could you speak up a little bit, sir? We can hear you, though faintly here. Oh, okay. Maybe we'll try to re-establish connection with you. All right. Now, before we re-establish connection with Reverend Ichull, is globalization threatened with some of these policy pronouncements?
Yeah, it is. But the concept or the meaning of globalization doesn't mean if, for whatever reason, I am feeling choked, or I want to pass a message of America's supremacy, the United States supremacy before the world, I shouldn't. Globalization largely is just about, yeah, we are all together in one space. But it doesn't, structurally, as designed and practiced, it doesn't entail that I dole out, everybody is happy, and I feel choked. Trump is saying, I want America first. I must ensure everything works in America, and whatever is that excess, or whatever I can spare, I can spare. Remember, America also has issues of inflation growing out of what they know, a lot of other things, and it's when you cut costs. Yes, globalization will be badly, heavily impacted. It's already impacting, and I like to tell people, especially governments, forget about this freeze that Trump said, I have cut aid funding, some 90 days, some whatever. Take it that Trump has cut off. Don't even assume, because look at it this way, Nat.
Yes.
The meaning of it is that there will not be fresh procurements for AR. Once we use it and it finishes, there may not be fresh procurements or arrival of materials from wherever. Despite the unfreezing, the partial unfreezing, President Trump has said, well, let me not try to choke things that are under life-saving, blah, 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 blah. So the point clearly here is that globalization, Trump has brought a new definition of globalization. You globalize at, let me put it, your comfort. You globalize not choking your citizens, let them breathe. Meaning that even Nigeria, although this is not your question, as we try to even extend and support our West African neighbors or brothers or countries, let's be conscious that globalization means don't choke yourself. Because if you look at these numbers, do you know that it will take, in the HIV alone, we may be needing over 2 trillion immediately to cover for this gap annually. From the maths I work roundly, they may not be precise.
Yes.
Now, where do we take that 2 trillion from? So it means a lot of rejigging needs to start taking place immediately. So globalization, if anybody thought globalization is about some other you keep enjoying aid. You keep enjoying aid. Trump has come to say no. And remember, some other countries may follow. Some other countries will sit back, rework the maths. Because if you look at this aid thing deeply, although that's not what you ask, there's a lot of corruption in the aid thing.
All right.
But that's another level.
Let's interrogate it further. We've now been joined again by Reverend Peter Ichull, who is a former a special advisor to a former governor on Diaspora Affairs. Thank you, Reverend Ichull, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
I'm delighted to be here.
All right.
Welcome, Sapich. Nice to have you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right. Now, Reverend Ichull, you are aware that President Donald Trump, the U.S. government, has suspended foreign aid to certain countries, including Nigeria. What does this portend for our country, especially in the health sector where there is HIV and AIDS intervention being sponsored by the U.S. government?
Yes. In the first place, I want to thank Donald Trump for that his thoughtful strategy to make Africans to think for themselves. Remember, when Barack Obama came to office as the U.S. president, he made it very clear that the relationship with Africa should not be based on aids, but on partnership, strategic partnership. What do we have to offer to the international community? Knowing that we have so much to offer, every U.S. president would like Nigeria to, as the biggest country in Africa, as the giant of Africa, to lead the way in positive independence. That was also enunciated in the foreign policy of the first Prime Minister, Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. And this positive independence means that Africa was the centerpiece of Nigeria's foreign policy. To this extent, I want to suggest that Nigeria should kickstart what I call regional regional health organizations, like West African Health Organization, East African Health Organization, and then we can also have an African Health Organization to close the gap. Once we do this, we'll discover that other international donors will be excited to partner with Africa for healthcare. That is the benefit of what Donald Trump has done. And you also see that there'll be a surge of new partners, new philanthropy in the world, where private individuals or companies or corporations will begin to think of cooperating with nations towards world health. Now, why is Donald Trump taking this action? The reason is simple. America feels cheated by China, which contributes very small but has a larger population than America. So, certainly, Trump may adjust his thinking in the years to come, but he wants every nation to stand up for itself, especially the bigger countries that contribute little, that contribute less than America, but benefit equally or even more. And so I think what Donald Trump has done is the right way to do things and to make every country to stand up and be responsible for its citizens. This will also
okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, you mentioned that it is a way of getting our leaders, the African leaders, if I should use your words, to think. But in the context of globalization, no nation stands on its own. Do you see that this will affect globalization, the way President Trump is approaching it, suspending foreign aid? And U.S. is a bigger economy that have the capacity to support other weaker nations. Won't that affect issues of globalization?
Yeah, if you listen to the campaigns of both parties, both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, you will discover that America has its own internal contradictions, its own problems, its own internal economic problems. That is why America is sending millions of foreigners back to their countries. The reason is that American economy has come under pressure from other countries and is killing the economy. It's because they also want the economy to survive. You cannot make other economies to survive at the expense of your citizenry. And that is why America is also standing up to protect her citizens and have enough for her citizens. And meanwhile, I also think one of the benefits is that, let me give you a good example. The Jews, it was the Jewish diaspora who came back to rebuild their country in 1948. Without the Jewish diaspora, the Israeli nation would never have come to be. But the diaspora came back with the hunger to repair their country. In other words, in other countries, diasporans come back to stage a revolution to reclaim their countries. And so I believe that Donald Trump's action will spur nationalistic feelings of diasporans to return to their countries, and to regain power and to give back their countries what they have seen in foreign countries. The success they've seen in America, they will take it to their countries. So I think it's a win-win for the whole world. Globalization doesn't mean that America will be contributing. Every nation must be involved in contributing equally to the growth of globalization. I think that is what Trump is trying to do.
Okay, now another aspect of it, apart from withdrawing the health interventions, he has also withdrawn the nation from Paris Accord on climate change, and issues of climate change are central around the world. Nigeria is also battling with issues of climate change. How will this impact on Nigeria?
Yes, it's going to impact negatively, but then it also helps us to rise up immediately and begin to develop our plan B, which an African solution, a West African solution, an East African solution, a South African solution, a North African solution. We need to stand up right now and begin to call our scientists together, put them together, and task them to, on measures that will close the gap in the event of a backlash from Donald Trump's withdrawal from the Paris arrangement. I don't see anything negative. In the first place, the plans that are already in action can take us the next 2 years. So we should begin to think that within the next 2 years, what intervention are we going to make to close the gap that is existing? So I think we are back to what I said earlier, that we need an action plan that we close the gap that will be created as a result of America's withdrawal from either the Paris arrangement or from aid or from whatever it is. We can stand up. We have the resources, the natural resources. We have the human resources. We have all it takes to close this gap. I can promise you that if our leaders stand up, we can take care of ourselves without American intervention.
All right. Before I let you go, the aspect of the withdrawal of some of these interventions on HIV and AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria, would this affect, in terms of job loss, would it complicate job losses for personnel that are running some of these programs that are sponsored?
And even the World Bank, and the World Bank also is the greatest contributor to healthcare and other interventions. So we should expect that what can generate our African miracles. Now, let me also reveal to you that one of the reasons why Trump is withdrawing assistance to some of the third world countries is that even the aid is not properly utilized, as corruption eats into most of the aid that is being given. And so even the aid from the area of corruption as well, we have to sit up and know whatever corruption that we practice in Africa or in Nigeria affects everyone at the end of the day. If we don't have good hospitals across the country, it will eat into our foreign exchange. It will destroy our economy. It will destroy our workforce if we don't have good hospitals to take care of our workforce.
Okay.
It's to our benefit to take up.
Okay, so lastly, you mentioned corruption in the foreign aid, which is to say you believe there is corruption in the foreign aid on the part of Nigerians or African leaders that are managing the foreign aid intervention coming from the U.S.?
Yes. Africans mismanage foreign aid. That's the truth. And that's one of the reasons why Obama started a suggestion that America will no longer be distributing aid like a menu to African countries. It should be partnership. What do we have? We should partner in trade and other things. But to just spoon feed America with foreign aid, give them dollars, and then they will trade with the dollars, give them medication, they will sell the medication. So much corruption takes place under this aid system, right from those who release the aid, the aid to the recipients.
Reverend,
it's a global corruption.
Okay. Reverend Peter Ichull, former special advisor on Diaspora to a former Benue State governor, we must thank you very much indeed for your valuable insights on the program.
Thank you for the honor.
Thank you. Have a great day, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Sam Agwa, you listen to Reverend Ichull. Are there points you differ with him, or are there submissions that you...
No, nothing I differ. I think where I need to enrich what he has said, he talked about developing regional health bodies, maybe something like the African Health Organization or West Africa Health Organization and that. You know, Africa has a problem. We've been battling with a West African currency or maybe an African currency for decades now. Right from when we were in school, we were told that some African currency may evolve, some. You see, to me, it doesn't look the solution. Immediately, right now, let me start talking at the level of Nigeria. Can the federal government of Nigeria sit down with the states and the local government and redesign the revenue sharing formula to accommodate immediately this gap? We don't need to wait to create system. Let's assume that the waivers Trump has given are waivers that will not last.
Yes, it's just a 90-day waiver on that perfect.
Even if he later changes his mind, which he will not, the safest thing right now in this month of February, although we are emphasizing health, but remember this aid comes also by way of military training, in education for vulnerable. There are many areas, but since health is the emphasis, imagine a situation now. Why can't everybody, the 776, is it local governments, 74. The 36 states, and the whole big federal government sit back, look at what is the gap and cover it immediately. That's quite key. Number two, a time has come for us now to deepen traditional medicine. I know I may be stepping on people here. Remember, sometime there were these guys that would come telling us issues about they have developed some treatment for HIV, some that. Nigeria needs to see how we can develop an African homegrown solution that seeks to trying to come into this space and mitigate. To me, these are very immediate things. Let's go to the town. You, the federal government, right away, if you don't even want to stress the states and the local governments, go back into your budget. Cut here and cut here and cut here and cut here and sustain this. Because let me tell you what, Nat, this aid thing means. I give you aid. I'm the one that costs the aid. I'm the one that told you this handset is 10 naira. I come and drop it to you. Maybe actually the handset is even 5 naira. But those are not conversations for now.
Yes.
So if you look at this huge chunk, and like Peter has mentioned, it is from the originator of the aid that there is corruption. The originator of the aid knows that at the recipient end, at that last level, there are wuru-wuru. But they all collaborate. You know, there is a lot of democratization of corruption in the aid funding, this sector arrangement, because it's mutual. Everybody's aware. And for the job cuts, the worst hit person is even the United States. It's not even the countries. It's not even Nigeria. Because if you look at it, U.S. gives us aid, but again, most of the consultants, most of the people that participate, that take out the chunk of money for the services they provide are also Americans. Don't forget that fact. So when we scream here that, oh, civil society organization will be stifled, democracy, human rights, because of this withdrawal of aid, it also has affected them that way. So Trump is taking a decision that if you look at it critically, it is from him, the U.S., from that U.S. end, that is even badly hit in terms of jobs and other things. But overall, again to the United States. So we must redefine globalization. African leaders sit and redefine globalization. Trump has read the Riot Act.
I love your phrase of democratization of the corruption, but we have now been joined.
I'm not undermining.
Let's go now.
Okay.
Let's head now to Abuja, where we've been joined virtually again by a public affairs commentator, Mr. Jide Ojo. Good morning, Mr. Jide Ojo, and thank you for joining us on Perspectives here on Agate Radio.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Jide Ojo.
You're back to Reverend Ichull.
Oh, goodness me. All right.
So,
okay, please make your thoughts. You were saying something.
So I'm looking at these quick wins, and I want to restate them. Federal government, sit back right now. You know where the shortfalls are. We can cut. If we believe in life saving, that is important, especially in the ART, via the PEPFAR program, where do you know that not close to 2 million Nigerians are on those drugs in the 36 states and Abuja? Maybe you could sit back and suspend construction of that tertiary health institution or something, so that this shot we can begin to respond, because it's about save life first before any other thing. So I think largely something has come for us as Africa or as Nigeria to sit back and do the best we can. And thanks to Trump.
All right.
Thanks to Trump.
Okay, let's head to Abuja. Reverend Jide Ojo is standing by. Good morning. I beg your pardon.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
Jide Ojo is a public affairs commentator. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Jide Ojo, you are aware that the U.S. government has suspended foreign aid to countries, and Nigeria is also inclusive. Help us understand what implications this will have on Nigeria, especially in the areas of HIV and AIDS intervention, tuberculosis, and malaria.
It has a very deleterious and very negative effect on these interventions, not just in the area of health, reproductive health, HIV, AIDS, or malaria, rollback, but also in the area of governance, democracy and good governance, anti-corruption, poverty alleviations. Because U.S. government, through USAID, has been supporting with a lot of resources over decades these interventions in Nigeria. If you go to the website of USAID, you will see numerous areas of intervention of this agent to carry out activities in productive health and management. That's why I'm very glad that 2 days ago, a court in U.S. have suspended the freezing of foreign aid. At least that has been suspended to the best of my knowledge as of yesterday. So it's hard to me, because even many American NGOs are affected by this, and they have had to go to court to get a court order to defreeze this aid suspension. Because like I said earlier on, quite a lot of interventions will suffer if this 90-day
window were to be respected. Don't also forget that there are many people who work in the non-governmental sectors who are living off this support from the American government. So if this aid was allowed to stay, that means they will temporarily lose their job. In fact, in many countries, yes, AID had had to staff had to be put on compulsory leave for the duration of the suspension. But maybe they will call them back now that a court in U.S. have asked that this suspension order should be lifted.
Okay, now there are people who argue, even though your opening statement seemed to contradict this, but there are people who argue that Nigeria and other African countries on their own shouldn't be over-dependent on U.S. or any other country foreign aid to run programs in their own country. What is your reaction to this thought by this argument in public domain?
I didn't get that.
I'm saying there are people who argue that Nigeria and other African countries should not depend entirely on foreign aid, including the one coming from the U.S., that this suspension will actually bring our leaders back on their feet to attend to the issues we have. What is your reaction to this?
They don't have to tell you that, my brother. They don't have to tell you that you should not. In fact, you see, the truth is that over-dependence on foreign aid is even counterproductive because you are at the mercy of your benefactors. Are you with me?
Yes.
That's why, if not Donald Trump, any other government can do same. And my own take is this. This is time for us to hold our government to account. We have enormous resources to help. Do you know that there are also that are also supporting NGOs in Nigeria? But the irony is that their interventions are never sustainable. Sometimes, if they are so magnanimous, they can give you maximum of 5 years grant. In many instances, their grant is between 1 year, 6 months to maybe 2 years. And how long can you survive on that kind of modest grant? Because after 2 years, what happens? That's why there's high level of mortality of non-governmental organizations in Nigeria. Because when you set up an NGO, I that I'm speaking with you, I belong to the development sector. When I left my 8 to 5 job in 2014, many people encouraged me to go into establishing my own NGO. And I said, no, I don't and I cannot go into NGO because if I do, I will run bankrupt. The reason being that if I have my own NGO, that means I have to have an office, I need to hire staff, and then we wait for funding. What if the funding does not come? What if the funding comes and it's not sustained? That means you are going to close shop in less than 1 year of starting an organization. So what I'm saying is Nigerian government needs to learn that you cannot depend and sustain your economy on foreign aid. It's so unfortunate that this has been the norm for decades. And I've also challenged that Nigerian government needs to learn from the American first policy of Donald Trump. Do you know that Nigerian government also gives foreign aid? That we also do what Americans are doing, just that it's not at the scale at which the American government does it. If you don't know, I will tell you there is what is called Technical Aid Score under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This Technical Aid Score is funded by federal government of Nigeria and supplies manpower to different African countries where they post Nigerian professionals like teachers, like medical doctors to these countries to go and train or serve for 2 years. And they are paid by Nigerian government. You understand?
Yes.
That countries in Africa, where when they want to have their elections, Nigerian government will give them operational vehicles, will give them manpower, will second people as consultants to them. And all of this, we need to also start thinking in Nigeria about Nigeria first. What is our foreign policy objective? What is Asiwaju Bola Tinubu's foreign policy objective? How are our support to our African brothers, how has it been reciprocated? Look at our intervention in the liberation struggle of South Africa. Look at the xenophobic attack on Nigerians and Africans by the same South Africans. We are not even talking of America today. Look at how Nigerians have been treated in Ghana. Look at, our investment in Sierra Leone and Liberia, how we help to restore democracy in these two countries. But how are these countries reciprocating Nigerians' kind gestures? So the lessons to learn is to also start to think inward about realigning our foreign directives, foreign policy objectives, in line for our foreign assistance to be in line with our foreign policy objectives. Because that is the best way to go. I don't blame Donald Trump. I don't blame America. I don't blame any country that decides to freeze or to suspend or to reduce the aid that they are giving to their benefactors. It's for those countries to also think about how they can liberate themselves and how they can harness resources to run their non-governmental organizations.
All right.
You get what I'm saying?
Very well.
Many a time, even without the freezing of this American aid, do you know that the amounts that are being voted for U.S. foreign assistance has been drastically reduced? It has been reduced because of their own domestic economic issues.
Okay. Now, before I let you go, Mr. Ojo, you are also aware the Trump, in one of the executive orders, he has also withdrawn from the Paris Accord on climate change. How will this affect issues of climate change in Nigeria?
I didn't get that.
The U.S. government has also withdrawn from the Paris Accord on climate change. And the issues of climate change, how will this affect Nigeria?
No, this is part of what we are saying. That is Trump for you. In his first term, that's the same thing he did. He withdrew Americans from World Health Organization and also withdrew them from Paris Club climate change agreement. And of course, it's within his right to do what he has done. It's just for us to also, it should be a call to action for Nigeria. Yeah. Withdraw from climate change, unfortunately, they are themselves being affected by this climate change. Look at the Los Angeles wildfires ravaged for the past 3 weeks. Look at the enormous gargantuan losses Americans have suffered. If you don't know, it's as a result of climate change.
Yes.
The wildfires that are recorded every year in California and across many Africa and across many American states are as a result of climate change. So if Donald Trump withdraws from climate change agreement because he doesn't want to be bound by the resolutions of that accord, then his own country will also not be immune from part of the signatories to the Paris Accord on climate change.
Yes. It's
for us to take concrete steps. Look at what happened recently where we are now doing a remediation of the Ogoni land. You understand? Remediation of the it's part of the climate change effect. Environmental degradation. But I just want this all. For many years, we have been having this accord, signing of resolutions and communiques. I think we should challenge these countries to move from rhetoric and just communicate to action, to take concrete actions against climate change, because we are all endangered by the aftermath effects of climate change. Do you realize that?
Yes.
The ozone layer depletion the very unpredictable weather conditions, they are all as a result of the effect of climate change. And no country across the world is immune from the aftermath effect, from the ripple effect of this climate change. So we either take joint action or we perish like a fool. And that, for me, it will be tragic if we do not take concrete action on this issue of climate change.
Okay, Mr. Ojo, the last comment I will have from you will be on the PEPFAR. That is the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief in Nigeria, which is the American-funded AIDS intervention. And as at yesterday, NAFDAC Director General stated that PEPFAR Nigeria remains the biggest donor for the treatment program in the country, noting that it contributes 90% of treatment burden. How will this going forward?
Sorry, my father. I have to go now. Sorry, I have to go.
Thanks so much for your time, Mr. Ojo. All right.
Yeah.
Mr. Agwa.
Yeah.
You listen to Ojo.
Yeah.
Let me have your thoughts.
I think we are,
some of the submissions briefly.
Yeah, we are all saying the same thing in different ways. The critical thing we are all saying is there is a redefinition of what globalization is. And African leaders need to also carve out the appropriate definition for globalization. We are saying, or rather I'm saying, even Nigeria needs to rejig its technical support or aid to other African countries. It should be driven on partnership terms. It shouldn't be driven from the perspective that you are choking as a nation, but then you are making other people happy as other people. I know this will have implications. Let me give you an example in an area I'm conversant with, in the humanitarian space.
Yes.
Do you know that significant contribution into the UNHCR comes from the United States of America? The moment I heard of these Trumps, is it freeze or unfreeze or moratorium or waiver or all these things, I just knew immediately that humanitarian assistance globally is going to be impacted. Even in Nigeria, it's going to be impacted. So fairly, it's a call to action for us to sit up. Immediately also, I noted some solutions. I am also making a case, even at subnational or national levels. A time has come for governments to directly fund the NGOs and civil society organizations. I've always maintained these organizations are working for government. Most of them are playing in a space that it is government that is supposed to do. But they go, they struggle, and they play in that space. We can rejig funding to accommodate this, especially immediately with this Trump Riot Act, so that we can begin to cover up. Let's not have a situation where at the end of the day they tell us there are no ART drugs for people to take again or something. There should be immediate ways of closing this gap, working with the NGOs, the civil society, and the local governments, because this is quite key. So we are all saying the same thing. And let me also add,
yes,
there are lots of interventions going on, not necessarily from the U.S. There are other countries and other organizations that directly come into your space to work with you. I think immediately this kind of support streams or levels of aid come, there should be immediate thinking of sustainability on the spot as the aid is coming. And the best way to ensure sustainability is, ab initio, from day one, insist that there must be a level of partnership that as the years are growing, there is also withdrawal from that funder, and you are matching it up to cover. Instead of coming to have this shock Trump has given us all today. And it's quite a big shock, because if he had told us, okay, between the next 2 years, I will gradually do like this, we would have understood. Now, and there's nothing we can do about it. Now, on the issue of withdrawal from climate change and all this, I think Trump is, although that's not the scope here, but he's bargaining for America taking lead in the war. Because at the end of the day, you allow us this one for 2 years, allow us this one for 1 year, allow us this for that, for that, for that. I understand in some countries in Africa and other parts of the world, 50%. Global epidemic, maybe worse than COVID, which people like Trump, I think, never even believe it existed or something, but that's by the way. A bigger epidemic is coming because with this withdrawal, a lot of crises will come up. But once again, thank you to Trump. Even though this is hasty, this is harsh, this is strong, we can find a way to breathe. I told you about we going back to deep and traditional medicine, and people laugh at it, take it casually, but these are all areas for us to find our solution. We should be able to develop drugs that are not costly to cure our malaria and things like that, so that this Trump thing will not affect us much. There should be a way to develop things that can address TB so that we don't suffer so much. Because right now, if we want to engage with the US, we are going to be procuring these drugs. Not with there will not be much sympathy in the procurement now, because it will be like business to business, or government to government buying and all that. So I think largely all we are saying is all hope is not lost, thanks to the Trump shock, but we will overcome it. I understand the federal government has also issued a statement of assurance. I think you even said it at the beginning of the program. But I don't want them to just issue that statement. Can you tell us A, B, C, D, E, what you want to do? E.g., like I'm profiling here, that can we find a way to take out from somewhere to cover up on this, take out from that immediately now, even before what Peter Chu told us to form an African health organization and very beautiful midterm solutions like that. Immediately, there must be a response to this. Because after these 9 days, even those waivers, we cannot guarantee Trump. Trump may choose not to waive anything. Because imagine somebody that stayed back, wasn't president for 4 years. You can imagine the knowledge base Trump has built in keeping America first. Let's keep Nigeria first.
All right, let's take a quick break, and when we are back, we engage with you, the listener, to know how we can keep Nigeria first, in the words of our panelists here on the program. Stay with us. Welcome back from that short break, dear listener. And if you are just tuning in, you are listening to Perspectives on Agwa Radio 95.5 Star FM Makurdi. Our discussion this morning is focused on the implications of the U.S. suspension of foreign aid to countries, including Nigeria. You can reach us on the number 0814-335-9292 to offer your thoughts on what we are discussing. The number, once again, is 0814-335-9292. Meanwhile, the SMS line, which is also available on WhatsApp, is 0912-699-9404. The line for WhatsApp and messages again is 0912-699-9404. Please remember to include your full name and where you are sending your message from. Once you connect with us on the call line, we'd like to know your full name, and then you make your submission. Tell us where you are calling from as well. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for joining us.
Okay, I'm Brother Emeka Oji calling from Western Port.
All right, Emeka Oji, good to have you.
Okay, so I'm so glad. Okay, good morning, Nathaniel, and the guests in the house.
Good morning.
Once again.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm so glad the topic you have brought up. And I've been hearing your panelists here talking about globalization. And the way I understand it from my studies, it's not something that we should even be excited about.
So globalization is designed by the Europeans as a kind of feudal system. You know, in the feudal system, you have the lords, the masters, and then you have the serfs, who are the slaves. That is how they design the global system. You have the managerial class centered in Washington, D.C., Brussels. They stay there and issue orders to the rest of the world to follow. And that has been the case since 1945 after the Second World War. So the United Nations became their instrument in imposing their own culture and economic and political institution on the rest of the world. So Trump came in and said, no, America should not be taking care of the rest of the world while their citizens are suffering. He made that very clear. And that because every nation is supposed to be a sovereign nation. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Yeah, so every nation is supposed to be sovereign and take care of themselves. But they have framed it in such a way that all of us now are looking up to them. That is the way they designed it. For us to be dependent on them so that they can come and tell you, if you don't accept this, if you don't accept homosexuality. Sometimes when they're giving you loans, they try to dictate to you what you should do and what you should not do. Because they have already undermined your sovereignty, undermined your ability to stand on your own. You are dependent on them. So Trump said, no, this is not the right way for any nation to go. So what he has done, I'm in support of it to an extent. Then this climate change of a thing. To me, if you actually study it in its original intent, it's not something any of us should even subscribe to. Because if you take that climate change the way they have envisioned it, even you as a human being, you are at risk. That is why they want to reduce population. Because they say that too much population is also increasing, endangering the earth. So these people think that they are beyond mind. They want to control the earth, which they don't have power to do. The California fire is as a result of the governor trying to follow the climate change remediation instructions from those who think they know more than us. So that is how the fire came in.
Thank you. Let's not dwell so much on the U.S. They have done their own part. We are talking about how this will impact us and the implications it have on us.
That is what I'm telling you. That's the global system.
Yes.
I'm not talking about U.S. I'm talking about the global system.
Okay.
So Trump says no. Everybody should go and take care of themselves. So this climate change thing, climate has been changing. So this fear-mongering, if you stop using fuel has, the California fire has been burning right from time immemorial. The Red Indians handled it. But because of this climate change theory and ideology, they messed everything up and the whole place got burnt. So we should be very careful. Some of these ideologies are passed off at times. They are not scientific. They are just philosophy and ideology by some people who think they know better than us. So Trump says, go and take care of yourself. So I like what he has done.
Thank you.
And we should learn from it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you. Emeka Oji says he likes what Trump has done, and we should learn from it. Anyway, it's a different stroke for other persons. We may get to hear from others why it should not be so. Good morning, and welcome to Perspective.
Well, good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, I was speaking with Tekula Haji from Batiagbo, Commentator, Benue State.
Okay, thank you, Tekula.
Thank you so much. Great the guests in the studio with you for me. You know, first of all, I want to appreciate the U.S. government so much because they've done very well. It has started long back. What I want to tell you is that if our Nigerians got the powers to assist U.S. government like that, they for cut off since. Because I knew very well it's because of Nigeria that enters other country into all those things. U.S. government have checked very well. Nigeria got everything, even raw materials on the ground. Nigeria got it, everything to did all those things. There is nothing in Nigeria. Only the fuel that Nigeria has. They can't remove the subsidy. Meaning, Nigerians are not serious. No need of wasting their efforts of helping the Nigerians. That's why they include other countries. And my thought is that Nigeria are the causer. They are the ones that causes other countries into all these things. That's my take on that.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tekwa Haji. I don't know how you mean Nigeria, what you mean by Nigeria causes other problems, but that's okay. It's your opinion. I think last day that we have the resources not to depend on foreign aid. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Okay, you're on, but we can barely hear you. The line is still available, 0814-335-9292, 0814-335-9292. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, my name is Godwin Peke. I'm calling from Industrial Layout here in Makodi.
Okay.
I want to thank you and your guests in the house.
Thank you.
Just as your guests have said, if you depend on somebody too much, that is how it will happen. For what Donald Trump has said, it will affect Nigeria and affect other countries. But you have to learn to depend on our own. We have to do our own drugs or whatever so that to keep our own nation going. As your guests have said in the house, Nigeria should come back and produce their own drug or whatever. If they cannot, their own cannot be the standard the way United States own is. Let them have something to do. If you depend on somebody totally, that is how it will happen. That's why they say we should not depend on human beings. Human beings can decide to take decisions that will affect you, but he will be pleased with the decision. That same thing Donald Trump has done. So let us come back to Nigeria and spend our own and produce our own thing. Although it will affect us so much, our job, things that our children are doing, they will cut off from all those things. It will affect us, but we should learn to depend on ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Godwin, for calling in. We should learn to depend on ourselves and not foreign aid. Nigeria should learn to depend on itself. Good morning.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello, good morning. My name is Peter Odi. I'm calling from High Level.
All right.
Yeah. Indeed, I want to thank you so much for the program. It's timely.
Thank you, Peter.
And what I want to say this morning is that this is catastrophe in the side of Nigeria because we depend solely on other people to live while we have everything on ground. I believe strongly that Trump has been, not only the Trump, the government of US has been taking record of all the things that people have been doing, especially in Nigeria. They have been having us over the years. How are we using those things that they have been giving to us as Nigeria, as a country? They know. As one of the callers has said that we have everything that we are not using. Our own is to loot. Our own is to do everything. Our political leaders, they don't care what we have. Only thing you busy. They will busy loot and do whatever they want to do. Now the thing has happened. The moment the Trump made that statement, the president came up and said that there is no cost alarm. That's how we Nigeria have been doing something. We only put mouth. We only have a lip service for everything. This time around, it's not going to be business as usual. I know Trump for some time now. Whatever the front said, there's nothing like reverse his statement. So only thing I want to say, my stake on this is that let Nigeria learn their lesson from this thing. Let our political leader come back. He's coming on board. It's not going to be good. But my prayer is that let them learn their lesson and come home and sit on round table and strategize on what to do so that we're able to help ourselves as a nation. May God help us.
Amen. Thank you, Peter. We appreciate you. May God help us indeed. All right. Hello, good morning. Hello. Good morning. I lost connection with you, but the line is still available. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Panelists.
We can barely hear you. Could you speak up?
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. What's the name and where you're reaching us from?
Yeah, I'm by name Ndanu Fidelis, calling behind the modern market.
Ndani Fidelis?
Ndanu Fidelis.
Okay, Mdano, go ahead, Fidelis.
To me, the withdrawal of the Americans from all this intervention is a signal to all the countries within all the African countries. Because if you look at it now, just like in China, if you look at in the economy, China we are trying to get the supremacy, that is the superiority of economy. So Donald Trump, having looking at this thing now, he want America to what? Gain back to what? Supremacy in the economy. So he's trying to prove to the world and the rest of the African countries that if today America is not there, have withdrawn their intervention now, people will come to see the benefit of America. People will come to see the America as the most champion in economy because of the intervention that have been given to the African country and some other country now. China and the other countries that have been trying to take they are trying to take the popularity or the supremacy in the economic sector. So other countries are not seeing it, but they are now. China is becoming a talk of everything. So to this now, don't have none to observe all these things. So we don't America from all this intervention now. It is a signal to all the other countries, including Nigeria, so that what we have here, we can manage our the resources we have, and with the resources we have, we can now put everything in order without depending on on the other countries. I know that Nigerians are not going to totally cut off depending on the other country, but if we can manage our resources very well and put it in order, then all this intervention, at least even though if as America is withdrawing from the intervention now, we can be able to survive. Thank you.
Thank you, Fidelis. Thank you. We should manage our resources and sustain ourselves so that even when the American, because the Trump has just opened the window, who knows other countries may eventually also key in that direction. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Nathaniel.
Welcome to Perspectives.
Thank you very much, sir. My regard to your guest in the studio.
Yes, thank you.
Can you hear me, sir?
Very well, loud and clear.
Okay, my name is Vincent Agwa. I'm calling from Ishabakut Road.
All right, Vincent, make your point.
You see, we all know Trump to be a very straightforward man. You see, to be honest with you, sir, if the U.S. decide to stop their intervention, it will really affect us in Nigeria. Let me just say, if they start bringing their net, their mosquito net, and their antiretroviral drugs, putting their arms and ammunition, I'm telling you, sir, it will affect us negatively. Considering the fact that Benue State is even one of in fact, the second largest HIV/AIDS, let me say, they have ranked as the second people that are living with HIV/AIDS in the country.
Hello, Vincent, that data may not be accurate because we do not have the data which says so. So I think it would be too general to just say that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. What I'm saying is that, honestly, we should just try and be begging that man, because if he decides to withdraw this thing, we are going to suffer. That's just the truth. We cannot deceive ourselves. What can we do? Well, let's be honest. We cannot do anything on our own for now. Though we'll try our best, but it will not be as good as that of the U.S. So for us to survive, let us go and beg him. Let us plead with him to have mercy on us so that we survive. Thank you very much, sir.
Vincent, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, Vincent said we should go and I don't anyway, is there any likelihood of anyone going to beg? Anyway, that's your point. Good morning. Welcome to Perspective.
Good morning, Sir Nathaniel.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I am called Natu Abraham, calling from behind NNPC mega station, Makudi Aliede Road.
Okay, Todue, good to have you. It's been a while.
Thank you. I think I am wondering how much drawing of the ears does the Nigerian government and other African countries need for us to sit up. COVID-19 came and gave us the signal that countries needed to be independent. and this one again is coming from Donald Trump. I think it's a wake-up call. We need to think inward, and then see how we can sustain ourselves without relying on foreign aid and borrowing from the outside world. Where are we going to learn our lesson? Something bigger is coming ahead. That maybe that one will be bigger than what Donald Trump has done now. I pray that God will help us. Amen.
Thank you, Todoe. We appreciate you. This is Nigerians speaking their mind to this situation, and it's interesting.
Good morning, Nathan.
Good morning. Thank you for joining Perspectives.
Okay, good morning, guests in the house.
Thank you.
My name is Tefa SPQK, calling from KM Kano, northwest part of Nigeria this morning.
All right, Tefa QK, go on.
To me, suspension of Nigeria aid to USA is not, well, they have taken their action, but it's not well done. To me, the bilateral relationship with the two countries, I think the thing will jeopardize. If the aid found wanting, they should take a disciplinary committee so that can investigate before taking out necessary action. But now that they have suspended aid, I think the thing will not good. It will not harmonize the relationship the two countries have. They should set a committee, investigate, call him so that they can investigate before taking necessary. But now they have suspended him, and the bilateral relationship between the USA and the Nigeria will not be ascertained like before. So to me, the action that the USA has taken is uncorrigible. It's not good. They should withdraw their action.
Okay.
The two countries have been harmonized and they have been in relationship good. So anything happen, they should have been set investigation before taking necessary action. I think by doing that, we have a bilateral relationship with the two countries. That is my take this morning.
Thank you, Tefa. We appreciate your take. We hope President Donald Trump should reconsider his decision. That's what Tefa says. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Good morning, Mr. Nat, and the guests in the studio.
Thank you.
Asogoni Dogara is my name. I'm calling you from North Bank.
Asogoni, good to have you. Go ahead.
You're welcome. Yes, whatever happened to concerning the suspension of foreign aid to Nigeria? I guess we are conversant with the popular adage that says invention, necessity is the mother of every invention. Yeah, we can cater for ourselves. Well, thank you. That's my submission.
Anyway, when he linked it to petrol subsidy, I don't know where it comes in, but
no, okay, you are taking calls.
Coming through. Let's engage with a few more persons and then we'll come back to this. Hello, good morning.
You, Nathan.
Good morning. Welcome to Perspectives.
Yes, my name is Alfred Udo. I'm calling from New GRA here in Maori.
Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Okay. I say no, Nathaniel, I don't want to hate you again. I think there is no problem with that. I cannot blame you for saying no. I don't want to hate you. You know, the foreign aid withdrawal. You know, when Donald Trump, the USA president, made that executive during the inauguration, you know. To me, when I heard it, I said, we will suffer a little bit. But I sit back and now say, what he said is only telling us Nigeria, here, that is here in Nigeria. The government, I believe that the Nigerian government are listening to me, that they want to move us, we Nigeria, from consumption to production. That is exactly what Trump is telling us. It's a very good, it's not advising us. Let us speak up. move from consumption to production. If we are productive enough, we will not be crying so much. So, Nigerian government should sit back and look at ways that.
Hello, Alfred. Oh, we lost connection with you. Anyway, your submission is made. Network disconnected you, but your point is made quite okay. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, and good morning to the guests in the studio.
Thank you. Go ahead. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
I'm by name Shaka. I'm by name Shaka Ushahemba, and I'm calling from Ikbeyonge.
Okay. Ushahemba, go on.
Yeah, my contribution over this is the president of US has said what he has said already. So I would like to say this. The Nigerian government, all the citizens, and even the whole West African countries should come together and look for a solution. There is no way that if all of them come together, I believe they will find a solution to this. Please, let us just come together, sit together, and find how they will get means to cure this sickness and all.
Your contribution, Shamba. We appreciate you. Let's take some messages before we come back. This one says, good morning, presenter, with your guests. What a brilliant discussion on the topic today. My take is that it's time Africans start thinking and implementing solutions to African problems with the natural and human resources available to us. We have nothing to do with aid if we were also thinking Africa and Nigeria first. Trump is just reminding us to start doing the needful. What if they wake up one day and decide to switch us off from the digital space? It will be the same cry. Joe Kennedy from International Market in Makudi. Joe Kennedy, thank you for your message. We pray we shouldn't wake up and we're switched off from the digital space. We want to be there so that we'll see what's happening. This one says, good morning, I Get Radio. This is in our WhatsApp box anyway. Good morning, I Get Radio. I am Shenge Enoch from Welfare Quarters, Makudi. Nigeria and other African countries should not be dependent on America and others. We need to learn how to utilize what we have appropriately. Imagine there is an African country where a few months ago, the president awarded a road contract for $9.8 billion to a construction company that has the president's son on the board. Thanks to Trump, because he is indirectly advising African leaders that funds are meant to be spent approximately. With Trump withdrawal, lessons should be learned. All right, thank you, Enoch. This one says, good morning to you and the guests. Nigeria looks to secure its health future. International partnership will continue to play a critical role. These alliances with global entities such as PAFA and World Health Organization are essential in providing immediate funding, expertise, and access to treatments. However, long-term success hinges on Nigeria's ability to reduce reliance on external aid. Nigerian government must prioritize building robust, self-sufficient health systems and capable of meeting their populations without depending solely on foreign assistance. From Koifrem, Welfare Quarters in Makudi. Koifrem, thank you for your message. We appreciate you. This one says, good day, presenter and guests in the AGE studio. The policy statement and decision of the American government under Donald Trump is philosophical instrument of wake-up call, consciously morals, and evaluate the policies and programs of government in Nigeria, West Africa, and African countries at large. In addition, it serves as an instrument of political education for many countries to be serious on what they are intending to carry out as training, producing, and selling. Nyajo Godwin from Bajimba. Thank you, Nyajo Godwin, for your message. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello.
You're on. Speak to us.
This is Sylvester Andor calling from Sayango.
Thank you, Sylvester.
Yeah, Sylvester Andor. To me, I'd appreciate much what Trump have done. I've appreciated what Trump has done. As people are saying, it's a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call for Africa, especially Nigeria. You understand? Let me tell you, it is not angels from heaven that make Trump country better. It is not angels from heaven at all. It is the Americans that are better off that country, that many of us are running there to take refuge and to do one thing or the other. Why can't we do those things here? We have every resources to better up the country. If it is, look at South Africa. People move from Nigeria to South Africa for treatment. They go to some of the Africa, and we have better things here, better doctors, better everything here. Why can't we do our own? If I were Trump, not only sending them out, I would have taxed them. Give them heavy tax. It is the tax that would have drove them out of my country. Thank you. That is my contribution.
Okay. Sylvester, thank you. Sylvester is sounding like another Trump in Ikbeyongo because even the tariff issue that we did not cover, he is interested in it. He wants heavier tariffs. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Mr. Nat, and our wonderful guest in the studio.
Thank you.
This is the voice of Ado Bartolome Tefa from Achohon Council Ward of Gwe West Local Government.
Good to have you, Bartolome. Make your submission.
Yes, my submission is going to be very brief. I really want to thank you so much for bringing up this topic, and it is timely. I want to tell Nigerian leaders that they are above intimidation, and it is high time we call a spare. All these issues we are talking about, the American president withdrawing her aid from Nigeria and other West African countries. I want to say that we should learn a hard way. It is high time we make use of what we have in our own country. We shouldn't be depending on these people. A child who is crying and is coming to the door wants a help. Nigerian is crying and refusing to come to the door for help. We have all that it takes for us to help ourselves. So it is a wake-up call for our political leaders, religious leaders, traditional leaders. It is high time we come together. The American government is telling the Nigerian government that they should learn how to make use of the little thing they have. So I want to thank Donald Trump so much for what he has done. So we should try and appreciate what we have. That is just my submission. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bartolome, for your submission. We appreciate you. Okay, let's pause the calls now and come back. Ms. Agwa, you have listened to several callers.
Yeah.
What do you gauge as the feelings of Nigerians concerning this issue, suspension for
I think outrightly, if Nigerians were allowed to vote, based on the conversation so far, Trump would have had so many votes from Nigeria because it seems Nigerians are in love with Trump. They are in love with Trump not necessarily about Trump, but they are also passing a message. From the conversation so far, you can see clearly that every Nigerian is saying enough is enough. Though Trump has come up with this, it is possible for us to move forward. Somebody mentioned something around removal of subsidy.
Yes.
And it sounded funny. But there is a deep message in what the guy said. And this is the message. You, President Tinubu, got up and said subsidy is over. Trump got up and said aid is over. Why are we complaining? It's 1-1. It's a draw.
Okay.
Anyway, that's just on a lighter note.
Yes.
I want to explain maybe something briefly. Somebody talked about sovereignty here. Trump is introducing a definition of sovereignty that should be within the ambit of partnership. Trump has not cut any diplomatic ties with any nation. He is simply pushing forward his policy of America first, which means let me sit back and look at America first and check. Maybe someday he may wake up to still give some waivers and say certain things should continue. So we need to get that fact. People talking about bilateral relationship. In the aid arrangement, it's not a bilateral relationship that if you must say, I want to pull out, you will bring everybody to the table to discuss. You simply can just give notice and pull out, like Trump has done. He is saying, I can't move ahead. I can't go ahead with this. This is different from if you have a bilateral arrangement. Maybe you people are working towards a certain project together in partnership. You know, you need to discuss before that happens. Now, climate change. There was a mention around climate change. Climate change has always existed because the climate is not the same way our villages were 40 years ago, that we are still meeting them in the same way. Let's not over-politicize the fact that climate change has become another introduction from the Bretton Woods institutions, and the intention is to exploit. Let's see climate change from the fact that we should be able to come up with local solutions. For instance, how long will it take us to stop burning our bushes? Is it not climate change? So to just come and look at climate change from this aid donor angle of conferences and that, we will miss it. Let's look at climate change as our problem, the bush burning we are doing, destroying all the rats in the forest, but we don't go and hatch the same rats and reintroduce in the forest so that it keeps going. So it's because somebody mentioned that. And somebody talked about Nigeria being a menace. Maybe that could be why this. I want us to understand that we are it's just collateral damage. Trump does not see Nigeria. Trump sees people that are his mates, China, Russia. That is what Trump sees. He's imagining that Trump, has put so much on the table. These guys don't put so much. But they come, we allow them do business with us. And they're even taking more money than him that is contributing. So I want that perspective also factored. It may not be the major reason. So it's not about there was corruption in the aid flow to Nigeria that Trump. No, Trump sees things from the angle that he wants to lead the world like he is leading. So he sees that, no, what I'm doing shouldn't help China so much, or if it must help, it should be mutual. What I'm doing shouldn't help the bigger superpowers and that. Now, somebody also talked about federal government coming out. He tried to use a very rough language to just talk and assure Nigerians. I love what the guy says. I want the federal government not to assure us. Tell us the steps, A, B, C, D, E. Like I mentioned some steps here. Tell us definitely what you are doing to close this gap, this immediate gap that we are facing on account of whether there's a waiver or there's a freezing or an unfreezing. Because what we know is that aid arrangements in Nigeria particularly has changed. There will be it's not going to be business as usual. Trump has said it. They are just sitting back to check, to give some soft landing. So that, because he wants aid to be treated as partnership. In fact, he wants aid to be driven like a business. If I'm supporting you, Nat,
yes,
I'm helping you with mosquito nets and that. You two be doing business with me, not China, not Russia. Be doing business with me. I'm putting so much on the table where you guys go back and I'm doing that. You are thinking of joining BRICS, or maybe not joining BRICS. You are thinking of currency swap with China. So for us, maybe these are the kind of things that must have angered Trump a lot and that. But it's a blanket global thing he's pursuing in the overall interest of America. But I want to stretch further.
Yes.
Because I may not have the time to comment on this. When things are playing internationally, let's narrow them to ourselves. At the various small levels we are in our hamlets, in our villages. Maybe you are a young man today. Your source of income is Bet Niger, or Niger Bet, or whatever, I don't know the name. Implication is that someday you may wake up, that thing will not be there. I'm trying to relate something now. Don't stop me.
No, I make yourself.
Yes, because there is that guy that you think supports you. He's your benefactor or he's your whatever. A day will come that guy will not be able to support you. So I want to stretch this conversation to my young people particularly to begin to think that someday that thing that you are depending on or survives you could go off. So begin to explore alternatives or other streams, side runs, side incomes, as many as they are. Because the truth is, what Trump has done, I wouldn't know the stats, but thousands of jobs are off immediately. And you remember in Nigeria, I don't know what is the standard, but let's take it that a standard family in Nigeria is 7 persons. So if what Trump has done, I'm just using this, don't use my statistics.
Yes.
If what Trump has done is affecting 1,000 Nigerians, implication is that 7,000 people are immediately affected or have joined us on the street. That means in the next 2-3 months, the statistics...
You are not on the street anymore.
No, I'm on the street. I'm only wearing a white shirt. I am on the street. I was coming to the studio praying that my fuel takes me here. So I'm on the street. So you can imagine that 7,000 people are going to join the, 133 million in multi-level poverty and that. But the point is, America first. So you, Nigeria, get up now. Nigeria first. What do I need to know to do that is Nigeria first. For instance, though not connected, what is wrong saying once you are 60 years and above in this country, it should be free medical care? Will it be so much? Maybe so much. I don't know. Because remember, the population 60 above, there are not even many. Because many Nigerians are dying at below 50. I think there's life expectancy and that. Yes. I brought that to just draw out a message. Yes. There could be some definite things that you begin to see, like this ART drugs now. Step out. Begin to look at the companies that get in these things and work out an arrangement that Trump suspension of aid or not, we will not, because you need to be on those drugs for a long time. There are many other areas, but I think critically from the comments Nigerians have made, it means that an opportunity has come, though looking catastrophic, yes. We can convert it and make some meaning out of it. Don't throw away the traditional medicine.
Maybe the people in alternative and complementary medicine will love that point you are making repeatedly. Anyway, that's okay. Let's take again some engagement here on our live stream feed on Facebook. Oliver Nyika says it's an interesting discussion. Jonah Tehir Benjamin says he's watching live from Naka on a nice topic. Thank you, Jonah. And Manfred Sawan says, good morning to you all in the studio. The Trump policies and actions is a highly welcome development. For goodness sake, our dependence is a sign of laziness or mediocrity. After donkey years of independence with all the natural and human resources we are blessed with, instead of our leaders over the years choose to be insensitive and wasteful, the shock is a wake-up call, especially Nigeria, the giant of Africa. We ought to truly do better. Thank you. Manfred, thank you for your position. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Oh, we lost connection with you. A few more engagement and then we'll come back. Hello, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, my name is E.T.TV Abraham, calling from Bagwen, Makurdi local government.
All right, E.T.TV, go on.
Yes, I think President Trump has pronounced that, believing that the U.S. economy is enough independent. And it is also a lesson from Nigerian government to strengthen their economy. We understand that Nigeria is recognized as a giant of Africa. What are we going to be giant of? We needed to be giant in terms of productivity. We need to be part of countries in the world who should, at level, produce some aid to the neighbors. We have been doing it, but not to the expectation. I want to urge the individuals who also have the money and they are going about strengthening other economy, building companies in the various, in order to build a prosperous one so as to overcome the President Trump pronunciation.
Okay.
However, I still want to advise Nigerian government to be very proactive and at the same time put in measures that will strengthen the local production so that by the time we are coming in partnership with the country who feels they are giant, we also have a say on part of our own.
Amen.
Thank you very much, sir.
Amen. Thank you very much. Thanks for your submission. Nigeria should make itself a giant, truly in the sense of
Hello?
the U.S. making itself the superpower.
Hello?
Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Nat. My name is Dr. Joe Hassan, calling from David Mac Bypass in my office. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you, sir. Good to have you join us on the program.
This is a wonderful program.
Thank you, sir.
I just want to make one or two comments. Do we have the sphere of control to tell Trump or how to run his foreign policy? The answer is no. Do African countries need aid? As far as I'm concerned, the answer is no. Let's get back home. Let's get back to the health sector, where I'm more particular about. In 2005, African unions of heads of states met in Abuja, gave a prescription that annual budgets should allocate 15%. That African countries should allocate 15% of their annual budgets to health. This last year, the federal government allocated less than 5%. This year, the budget from our beloved state, I think, is just slightly below 5%. People are talking about ARVs and other healthcare commodities. Jack up our healthcare budget to 15%, and the healthcare sector will be in the position to meet its needs, provided that we remove the cloud that is covering the planning process, which is corruption. Very important. Let us look at what other aspect of aid. When you give aid to countries, the money comes in and goes out. How many Nigerian companies manufacture treated mosquito nil, syringes? Less than 1%. They are not working. Okay? Wheelchairs, other healthcare commodities. This money goes back to the developed countries. You give us aid, the aid comes in and goes back for these countries to sustain their own industries. Let's look inwards, for heaven's sake. I am interested in globalization, and I think we're looking at this concept loosely. Globalization means integration of the world through movement of finances, technology, and human resource. The world then becomes a unified village. But countries leverage from that based on their competitive advantage and interest. Okay, that is why most of our intelligent people are going to developed countries where the environment is there for them to excel. I heard Peter Chu made mention that we should think of creating African Health Union. There is already an existing West African Health Organization with its headquarters in Ouagadougou. I think Niger, Mali, these three countries that are pulled out of ECOWAS. So you look at the contradiction, we have a West African Health Organization cited in one of these countries, whose principal objective is to carry out surveillance on our various borders in the wake of COVID-19 in order to prevent a recurrence. Now these countries are pulled out. Where are we going to cite this body? Are we going to take it away from Niger or Mali and bring it back to Nigeria? So let us think outside the box and let our leaders think less of AIDS.
Okay.
We have qualified people in this country, provide the required resources. Why? Just one point. In Benue, for instance, we're talking about health. We have a Benue health insurance agency that is completely moribund. Benue State Health Insurance Agency that is supposed to take care of the healthcare needs of the citizens, including the elderly and the less privileged. what the Americans call Medicaid and Medicare. One of the discussants made mention of that. The people above 50 should be given free health care. Of course, if we now revamp our healthcare system, health insurance policy in the state, the structures are there. We will have enough quantum of funds to not only buy what is needed, but also give support, financial support to the elderly and less privileged.
All right.
Thank you. If there's more time, we can discuss that. Yeah. Thank you. This is a very good topic, and I'm looking forward to having more topics like this in not too distant future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you, Dr. Joasan, for calling in and reaching our conversation. We appreciate you. That will be the last call we'll take for want of time. Now, Ms. Agwa, this maybe there are some submissions that Joasan made that you were itching to comment on, but like the submission on the part of HEAD with regards to the West African HEAD organization itself, how can this be strengthened now that the suspension of foreign aid, especially in the areas of health sector from the U.S., is coming? What advantage? Nigeria's president is the chairman of ECOWAS. What can we do to leverage on this to take advantage?
I really don't like talking long-term solutions, because remember, first and foremost, is for the sovereign states to achieve some significant level of healthcare delivery that looks fair, so that they can now come to the table to chart some regional agenda. We understand from what the professional Dr. Joasan talked about, the headquarters of a West African Health Union or organization in Ouagadougou. We are also aware of lots of controversies that are splitting ECOWAS and that. Maybe I should pose back, not to you to answer.
Yes.
Can we begin to damn the fact that some countries are tricked? We can start discussing and seeing how we can move ahead as ECOWAS. But to me, that shouldn't even be key yet. From the message Trump is sending, and from what we are seeing, we must ensure the right buffers that can guarantee fairly, averagely, the level of our healthcare system or any other kind of thing we were depending on in aid, be it even in military trainings and equipments and a lot of other things. We must develop those indigenous solutions. To me, is much key. Well, of course, we can form African Union of Health and all that. Who will fund it in the end? I want to believe it will be Nigeria, maybe Egypt, maybe a bit from South Africa and that. Because Nigeria is still playing that big brother role in Africa, especially in the sub-region. Even on things like power supply, even on the energy, a lot of things Nigeria is just doling and that. So I think for me, I see the West African original health systems as key, but I am more keen on Nigeria evolving a health system that is working, Nigeria evolving all these areas that we depend heavily on funding. It could even be education for the vulnerable. We can begin to, that is why I made a suggestion that let's cut right now in the 2025, rejig the budget. These areas of funding that may dry up or are frozen or may be waived or not waived, we begin to see how we seamlessly, it's as if there was even no aid gone. To me, that should be the starting point. It shouldn't just be about colorfully trying to have systems that work. Okay, now you have WHO. Look at the impact of America pulling out of WHO, where I think approximately 25% or thereabout funding of that global body comes from the United States. So you may create a global body and end up just pushing out. I really don't know. So let every country or let Nigeria focus first on achieving something. Joasan mentioned something around health insurance. He was narrowing it to Benue. Is there something we need to look at this and strengthen and get it right? Because I understand in terms of numbers, in terms of budget, there is some close to that 15% or about that 15% allocation in healthcare. That is from Benue. I don't get the right stats, but certainly more than a 10% or so, which looks fair. But to what extent Are we going to put this into issues like insurance to ensure that a lot of these things, that means let's call it government giving aid. I don't know whether I'm correct, but government, that welfare system that is not so costly, it's not so painful. Because head or tail, we are in for this and must address it at local government level, at all levels. In fact, it's a good platform even for the local governments now. Don't be looking at health just from the global stuff. Although I agree that health is a global thing, the borders are porous. I will carry HIV and enter into another country. Another country can bring Ebola and enter into mine. We need collaboration. But can the local government systems, with their 13, 15 council wards, begin to devise a system that responds to the same healthcare issues? All this mosquito net thing Joassan mentioned, all this petty thing. It's high time our private sector is rejigged to produce things, basic things like mosquito nets and that. What does it take to do? We need to get into this. All now right. That this has, Trump has, is it a yellow card or a red card? Which card actually has he pulled out?
Whichever one. Let's take one more message and then we'll conclude because we're totally out of time. This one says, good morning, Mr. Presenter and guests in the studio. What I understand from this topic is that Trump has only created a chance for Nigeria and other countries to stand on their own and solve their problems by themselves. And Nigeria, on the other hand, should grab this opportunity and establish firms that can provide quality healthcare services to citizens and stop wallowing in sober because of their aid has been cut off. That's my contribution. My name is Manasseh Uja from Welfare Quarters. Manasseh, we thank you.
Manasseh has nailed it. It's a wake-up call.
Yeah, that should be your concluding thoughts.
Like we in the humanitarian world, we have this thing of turning displacement into an opportunity. Now, something has come. Let's stop the fright. You know, the worst thing is for Nigeria to even make a mistake of trying to beg. You know, somebody, a caller, talked about begging. Yes. You can't beg Trump. Trump doesn't even care like that about your existence or so. Trump is targeting what you have only come in as a victim. So I want to believe that this is a wake-up call for governments at all levels, primary healthcare level, secondary healthcare level, tertiary and all that. And immediately there should be a conversation, a post-aid withdrawal conference, or I don't know which one to call, but there should be a summit to sit down and work so that we can deliver seamlessly.
Mr. Sam Agwa is a former special advisor to the Benue State Governor on NEPAD and international relations. He has worked with the United Nations High Commissioner on Refugees. We appreciate you very sincerely. Always interesting discussion.
You forgot that I'm currently a very big farmer. So I'm a farmer.
Thank you, Mr. Agwa, for joining us on this edition of the program and your valuable Principal Special Assistant to the Benue State Governor on Diaspora Affairs. Reverend Peter Ichull joined us from Boko, and the Public Affairs Commentator, Jide joined us from Abuja. We appreciate them both for their valuable time. Dear listener, that's our program today. The next time you hear from us will be Monday next week. Let's look inward, think outside the box like some of our callers have stated, and see how we can cope with the suspension of foreign aid from the U.S. government. I am Nathaniel Nongu. Have a great weekend. Goodbye.